Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. You are in the gap with Hussain. The following is a conversation I had with Adetokunboh Adeniyi, or in short, Ade. Ade came to Australia about 5 years ago. He works with Westpac Bank, and he's originally from Nigeria. But the important thing within this conversation is not the fact that he works at a bank. The important part of this conversation is that he is the proud owner of one of the first Nigerian restaurants in Sydney and within wider Australia. This is a conversation I wanted to have for quite a while. I'm really glad that Ade took the time out to come out here and have a conversation with us and share his story of how he developed the space of A Little Lagos. That is his restaurant. I'll be posting the link to the restaurant and everything that Ade has been up to in the description for this video. Please check it out. These kind of conversations are extremely important because the Little Lagos, it's not just a restaurant. It is a space for the African community, or for the, in a wider sense, the Black community, to actually come up and own a space for themselves. And that is the ethos that Ade has been following since the start of the restaurant. It's a very interesting conversation. We get to talk about his early life, all of his experiences all over the world in different countries, coming into Australia, coming up with the idea of a space for his own community, turning it into a reality. We also discuss the business side of it, on all the things that you don't understand about owning a restaurant. If anybody who is trying to think about coming up with an idea or starting a new business, Ade's insight can provide some really good information on how you can go about starting your own ethnic cuisine restaurant. And now, my conversation with Ade. Let's roll the intro.
Something happening. It's always an event. Some of them you have to be there, basically, depending on the profile.
How was the wedding?
It was fun, actually. It was.
Did you have a long night?
It was a long day, yeah, because it started at 12 and it went until like 10 p.m. But I left because we had an event at the venue.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, my security guy had to call in sick. So I had to quickly step in and basically be security for the night. Yeah,
the multiple hats you have to wear, when running a business.
That's it. You're everything. You're the accountant. You're the security. You're the chef.
I'll tell you a story. So when I found out about Lagos and your story and everything, right? I tried to get in touch. LinkedIn, I don't think you use LinkedIn that much.
Not much.
I because the last update on your LinkedIn was just for when you were working in the back.
Yeah.
So that was that. So I figured that maybe you don't check LinkedIn as such. Then I tried to reach Kemi.
Okay.
Now Kemi was in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Obviously at that time, and she didn't have contact with you. But then what I decided, I was like, look, if it's a restaurant, right? And I'm going to be talking to a restaurant owner, and if I'm going to recommend something, I might as well go try it, right?
Yeah.
Because I was genuinely interested in trying Nigerian cuisine. Yeah. I'd never tried it before.
Okay.
So about a month ago, I went into Lagos and I did go and have dinner. That's when I handed them the letter.
Okay. Yes.
So I thought that I'd drop the letter.
Yeah.
I'd have dinner.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
Smart. Yeah. So
smart.
but what I found was, interestingly, I'm from Pakistan.
Okay.
Right. I had the goat stew and the jollof rice.
Yeah.
Very, very similar to Pakistan.
Yeah.
It is like the kind of spices and the curries that we have.
Yeah.
So the goat stew, because Pakistan doesn't have a lot of lamb.
Okay.
Majorly we have goat.
Goat. Yes, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And for people who know the difference, like goat is very different
100%.
to lamb. Right. It's very different. The texture, the taste, everything is different. So Pakistan, we're really used to goat. But ever since I've been in Australia for about 5 years, so most of the stuff that I've had over here is lamb.
Yeah.
So having goat again and having those same flavors, it felt so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. A lot of people also misrepresent lamb as goat.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to be careful when you go to the butchers. A lot of them will try to sell you lamb.
That happened to me because what they call it mutton.
Yes.
So mutton is lamb and goat both.
Yeah.
So you have to tell them that you want goat.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Ade, the first thing I would always try to ask of our guests and try to understand from them is basically where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And in your case, understanding the context of who you are and where you're from and your ethnicity and your culture, it's very important to understand that in order to understand the story behind Lagos.
Yeah.
Right? So just run me through like your early life and like coming up, your education, and how you basically before coming to Australia, everything leading up to
Yeah,
it.
so a bit of a gypsy, really. My dad, we moved around a lot, so we lived in London, in Southeast London. We lived in Dubai. I went to school in Romania. I was living in Romania for about 7 years. It's just interesting because I speak fluent Romanian, and it's just the wildest thing to see a black person speaking Romanian. Can't imagine anything more shocking to someone.
Maybe if you could pull this prank, you actually go up to Romanian and you start
Whenever
speaking
I ever overhear Romanians, which is very rare, but like it's happened in Dubai more often because there's a few Romanians there. So we'll be on a train or maybe in a club or something.
Yeah.
And then you hear two people talking in Romanian.
Yeah.
And you just like, I just kind of like joining the conversation. And at first they just feel like, no, that didn't happen, you know, because they look at me and they go, it couldn't have been him, you know. And then I'll say something again, and then they'll be like, vai, vorbește românește. I'll be like, da, cum sau nu? And they'll be like, wow. Because sometimes they think I know just a word or two that I picked up, and then we'll end up having a full conversation. But yeah, look, I'm from Lagos. I'm born and raised where, I don't know, 4 or 5 generations from Lagos, from a town called Ekpe. It's very significant because not a lot of people are actually from Lagos. It's a hub. It's you know, it's where everyone comes to make a life kind of thing. So it's a massive city. I think about 25 million people, densely populated. So for those of us that are from Lagos, I guess indigenous to Lagos, there's a pride there. Like, you know, this is my city, this is my hometown, this is where I'm from. It means a lot for us. And you always want to represent that because that identity is very strong. And especially because there's not too many of us as well. So you kind of want to maintain that culture. You want to maintain that identity. And even though we moved around, one of the things my parents were obsessed about was we had to speak our language. So we spoke English a lot because we were a British colony. So our school education was in English. But every chance my parents got, they spoke to us in Yoruba. And so all of us, even though we lived outside of the country most of our life, we all speak Yoruba fluently. We understand it. And I think that's formed a big part of my cultural identity because I know who I am, where I'm from. I know my story. I know my history. Yeah. And it doesn't matter where I end up in the world. I take that part with me. And moving here was in 2016. So not far from when you moved here. I think, 2016. And it's just, you basically have to start all over again. You know, it's the immigrant story.
Yeah,
you know?
It is. It is. And that's what I try to capture in the podcast is because a concept that I have been brewing in my mind is the concept of, you know, #alsoAustralia.
Yeah.
Like these are stories you might have seen maybe in other podcasts that I've done or your story yourself. This is also Australia.
Yeah.
And the immigrant experience is increasingly forming a very huge part of the Australian identity.
Yeah.
Because as the country grows, as it's poised to grow over the next 50 years, immigration is going to play a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And with those immigrants, it's not just the people who are coming over, it's also all of those backgrounds and cultures and, you know, those ethnicities that are coming over.
Yeah.
And I mean, so far I like the way that Australia has been expanding as a multicultural society, at least within the, you know, the bigger cities.
Yeah.
Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane is now coming up. So it's really important, I believe, to showcase these diversities.
Yeah.
And celebrate them,
Yeah.
and finding overlap in them.
Yeah.
Like, I tell you what, before having this conversation with you, right, I did my research. I read up on Nigeria. I looked at Nigerian history. I understood Lagos because I wanted to have like a
good understanding,
a good footing in order to have a conversation with you, right?
Yeah.
I found a huge overlap between the Pakistan experience and the Nigerian experience. You'd be amazed. Lagos and the city of Karachi that I'm from, exactly the same.
Wow.
Karachi has 20 million people. Wow. Lagos has 25 million people. Yeah. Nigeria and Pakistan were both British colonies.
That's right.
Heavily influenced by the British colonizers. A lot of, historically, if you look at it, majority of the natural resources taken away in times of colonization. Yeah. A lot of the issues that Nigeria faced after independence, civil war, between the different, sectarianism, between the different types, between different religions, exactly the same as what has happened in Pakistan. And you'd be amazed. And also the way that that Lagos has a spirit of its own. Yeah. You know, the city of Lagos, it's like you said, a place where people come to achieve their dreams, to build a career for anything, even Nollywood, for example, right? That's all Lagos based. Yeah. Karachi is exactly the same. And I just found it very interesting that these countries that have a shared colonial past.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how the history of their democracies and then the military coups and then civil wars, it all, it like in Pakistan's part of the world, it unraveled the same way it did in Nigeria.
Wow.
So that was really, it's very fascinating to me. I mean, you and I could, I mean, apart from Little Lagos and discussing the restaurant, like you and I could actually sit down and, you know, now that you said that you actually enjoy history,
yes,
I love history myself, right? Getting into it. So like we could actually have an entire conversation around that, the parallels between the two countries. It was very interesting. Okay. So I can completely relate to like where you're coming from. So Lagos is where you spent like your teenage?
Yeah, close to that. Close to that. But I think a large part of my teenage years was split between London and between Dubai.
Yep.
Yeah. So actually, I would say I came of age in Dubai as well. Yep. You know, so grew up there, and this is in the 90s, I think. Yeah, late 90s. So it's also part of us because I think Dubai was quite close to home, so we didn't feel that we were too far away from home. London is home. Like, if you've ever been to London, it's like you're in Lagos.
Is
like,
it?
Yeah. There's nothing you want or need that you can't find in London.
In London, yeah.
Nothing. Culture, parties, churches, mosques, food, drinks. It's literally all there.
I've only been to London once.
Yeah.
I was there for like, I think 5 days. But yeah, I completely get the vibe. Like, the thing I generally like about Europe in general is it's steeped in so much history.
Yeah, of course.
So much history, right? Now, how they built that history is a separate thing. How they
we're
built.
Not talking about a British.
We're not talking about that. We'll get into it maybe in some other day. But absolutely love the history there. There's so much to see. Like, even if you walk down, even the inner suburbs of London, like, take the Globe Theatre, for example, or maybe the Sherlock Museum at Baker Street, or where the fire broke out. It's very small things, but steeped in history.
Yeah. They've been around. They've been around for a while. I think they figured out a lot of things earlier than most people, and they've been able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure. So you moved around all of these places. So what I'm understanding is that everywhere you went in your teenage, you had access to Nigerian food and Nigerian culture where you went.
Yeah, except maybe in Romania. I think there wasn't real access there. But the good thing about that was, like, Bucharest was 3 hours by flight to London, even less. So again, I remember we used to just be in and out of London every time, and then you'll be able to get everything you wanted. And sometimes we would just take stuff back with us when we were going back to school. So then we'll always have like food stuff and things like that. Yeah. And everywhere we met, other Nigerians would form like a little community, and always make sure we hung around each other, cooked together, celebrated all the birthdays and things like that together.
Nice one. Nice. So how long were you in London for?
In and out, almost maybe 15 years in and out. Yeah.
Okay. So that's majority of your life.
That's majority. That's the thing. Like, you in there, you're out there, you're in there, but you're also influenced by, because you're growing up, right? You're making friends, you're coming of age, you're discovering yourself, discovering things while you're there, and then you leave and then you come back. But I think most Nigerians in London would confirm this. You don't miss home too much in London. Really
because the community is there.
It's just massive. You know, I had like a street in Thamesmead where half of the people living there were my family. Like, you know, related to my family in some way, cousins, extended cousins, and an entire street. So if you got on the bus heading towards Thamesmead, either from Plumstead or Woolwich, you would be on the bus and you would be saying hello as people are getting on. You just say hello, because literally you know everyone then. By the time you get to the last stop, everyone comes up, and it's just like everyone's going into their homes.
So maybe London was a little Lagos.
I think so, yeah. I think London is the original. There's a place called Peckham in London that is a little Lagos. Yeah, yes, without a doubt. It's just everything is just there. Yeah.
So around that time, was that when you started cooking for yourself, your home cooked?
Boarding Nigerian school. Foods? I went to boarding school a lot as well. So you tend to fend for yourself in boarding school. Obviously, college, living alone. Yes, definitely. I was the only male child. I had 4 sisters growing up, so the kitchen wasn't where you would always expect to find me. Yeah. But my stepmom was like, you have to know how to cook. Like, there's nothing special about you being a son. Yeah. You have to cook as well. Yeah. So I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from my sisters.
Yep.
You know, just learning how to cook. And I think someone asked me this the other day, like, did you always want to have a venue? And the answer was yes. I always wanted to have a venue.
Oh, you always wanted.
Yeah, always. Even when I was like 15 years old.
Okay.
If I went into a restaurant or a venue, I always thought of what I would do different at that age, you know. And if I watched a movie and there was a scene there where there was a venue or establishment or a nightclub, I remember Romeo Must Die, this film with DMX and Aaliyah. I kept looking at the whole, I would have done it this way. I would have put the DJ there and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
I think it's a sense of community for me. I just always wanted to have a little place for me, my friends, my people.
Yeah.
It's like, this is our spot.
And to add to that point, like that's the vibe that I got from the restaurant when I went in there.
Yeah.
It's not just the food.
No.
It's the vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the way that you've set it up, the way you've done the interior decoration, the little ornaments on the walls, the paintings, the pictures.
Yeah.
And one thing I really loved about is that you also promote your Nigerian music stars up there. Like I think you have meetups at Little Lagos.
Every single time. If any artist comes here, whether they're massive megastars or they're just starting, that's a point of call for them to come. And before they come, sometimes we're not even associated with whoever is doing the event, but we take it upon ourselves to keep promoting it. And then they'll be like, oh, you guys thank you. It's like, well, we're doing it for ourselves too, because this is someone from our, our part of the world. Yeah. So it's you're absolutely right. It's never a restaurant. I always cringe every time people call it a restaurant, because we intentionally, I didn't use the name restaurant in any branding. It's just called Little Lagos, bistro, bar, whatever, because you have to describe what it is. Yeah. If I had my way, I'll just call it Little Lagos.
Because that's what it is.
That's it, yeah. No bistro, no bar,
it's the spirit of the city that you want to bring to the place.
Yeah, and people should be able to come in without being in the mood to eat. Yeah. You just want to come and hang out. You just want to listen to music. You just want to have a drink. You just want to meet up your friends. Yeah. You should be able to come there, not think, I have to order a meal or something. Yeah.
Nice one. One thing maybe if you could do, is there a tea drinking or a coffee culture in Lagos?
No. So, I need to put this out there. I'll still stand on no. And one thing when you talk about Nigeria, and I know we're not really talking about Nigeria, we're talking about Lagos and that part of the world, is we're very, we're not homogeneous people at all. We're very different. Like if you went north, you're meeting a whole different
kind of people. Yeah.
Different culture, different menu, different food. I think they drink tea in the north.
Okay.
I can't stand on that, but I would think they do. We don't drink tea in the southwest where Lagos is. Yeah. I mean we do, but it's not culture.
It's not a staple. Yeah. For people who don't understand the geography of Nigeria, Lagos is at... I'll put an image of the map on Nigeria up here as well. So Lagos, that is the biggest city of the country. It's in the south. And as you go up towards the north, you meet the sub-Saharan states. Yes. And that is where it starts getting a lot arid and a lot desert.
Very dry.
Very dry.
Very hot.
And the northern regions of Nigeria is where actually the Muslim influence and the Arab influence came in a lot into Nigeria. Yeah. And with that, they brought the coffee culture. That was part of the Arab nomads. Yes, basically.
Yeah, so we don't drink coffee. It's not a thing at all. I think in Africa, I think the East Africans drink coffee, and it's a thing.
Yeah, I brought that point up because Pakistan has a huge tea drinking culture.
Okay,
chai, we call it chai, right?
Yeah.
So we have a huge culture around chai. That chai is something that in the evening, like people sit here at the pub, right?
Right.
With friends, right? Yeah. Like beers and peanuts.
Yeah, after work, right?
Yeah. So chai is the same thing for us because Muslim country, we don't have alcohol. We don't drink alcohol. So chai is that thing that brings everybody together. At the end of a day, you sit down with some friends at a shabby hotel and just
have tea.
Just have tea over there, right? So
amazing.
So that's and that culture is now the modernization of that culture is now in the forms of these little cafes. All across Pakistan that serve chai, because traditionally all of these tea places, those tea stalls, were not places for family.
Got you.
Right? They were just men or like construction workers or daily wages, right? Now it's turned into this family thing that even like a group of girls are just out there having chai.
Yeah, and just socializing.
Tea, So, and that same concept, a couple of people have started in Sydney as well.
Nice.
So there's this place in Blacktown called Aussie Chai Wala.
Okay.
Yeah, so they started a food truck, and that's all they do. They do chai, and they do
Amazing.
a number of different snacks.
Amazing. I like things like that. I like that because it's not massive. You know, it's like a small little niche thing, and people can easily
Yeah.
tap into that.
Exactly, and these guys, they're open. I think they open around 6 in the evening,
Nice.
and they're open until 2 a.m.
Nice. Which is exactly how it would be
for people in Pakistan.
Exactly.
Pakistan, because
keeping it authentic.
Yeah, keeping
Yeah.
it authentic, and this place is like, you're hungry at night, 11 at night, midnight.
Yeah.
You have nothing to do, but you can't sleep. What do? You call up your friends, you hang out at the chai place, you have a few chais, and then you go home.
Nice.
That's the vibe of it.
Amazing.
Yeah, and even now the Cricket World Cup's going on. So
People can stay up
yeah,
late to
they
watch
actually
the
put up
games.
huge screen over there for people to actually watch the matches.
Nice.
So again, it's the vibe of the country and the culture that you're bringing to it.
Yeah,
right?
and I think the authenticity for me is very important. I love the fact that they kept it the way it would be. Because if you were to go to Pakistan,
Yep.
you'd be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I experienced in
Yeah,
Blacktown.
exactly. Yeah. So, at what point did you come to Australia then?
2016. I came in.
And run me through, sorry,
Yeah.
the process of like how Australia from
man.
Europe
It
to
was not-
Nigeria
it
to
was not-
to Australia. How did that happen?
Yeah, look, it was not in the plan. Let me just put it that way. 'Cause
Okay.
I didn't know anyone here. I knew one person, family friend, Pamela. She lived in Liverpool. That was the only person I knew. I was
Okay.
supposed to move to Canada.
Okay.
My sister lives there. And then while I was doing the whole PR thing,
Yeah.
the lawyer then was like, "Oh, I could do Australia and New Zealand." I was like, "Australia, what?"
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I'm good. And then he's like, Australia is like Canada. It's a very nice country, very developed. Like, if you like Canada, you would like Australia. It's the only difference is the weather in Australia is better.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's also at the end of the world. Like, it's far away.
Far away.
He's like, well, if you get PR, if you don't like it, just leave. Like, there's no
Yep.
thing. So that was it. So, yeah. And as you would have it, sometimes, I guess, destiny, the Australian PR was, like, processed really quickly.
Yep.
Then I came in, and I was like, I don't know anyone here. And then I realized one of my friends, Michelle, she's Australian. We're friends in Dubai. And she'd moved back home. So she was like, nah, I'm back home. I was like, where are you? She's like, I'm on the Gold Coast. I was like, where is the Gold Coast? And she's like, it's in Queensland. I was like, ah. So anyway, and then I started asking questions. And she's like, yeah, it's a good country. It's nice. It's safe.
Yep.
Stable.
Stable.
There's nothing
Yep.
really chaotic happening. And that's it. So I said, I'll stay a year, suss it out, see if I like it. And it's been 6 years now.
6 years.
Yeah.
You came in 2016.
2016.
I came in 2018.
Yeah.
Start of 2018.
Anything, yeah. So towards the end of 2016, like I think November or something is when I finally got here.
And you came up and joined up with the bank straight away?
Yeah. So I just started working. I started working immediately. I had a recruiter and she found a job like literally the next week. And then that was it. And then, you start to discover the city. You start to make friends. You meet people. You're like, okay. Sydney, I think, is amazing, as a city. It's there's a lot happening in Sydney.
Yep.
So I definitely think part of the reason I stayed was because I was in Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, because Australia is so far apart from the rest of the world, people in Sydney and Melbourne, they have to make their own fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
And that is why the vibe of because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
In Sydney and in Melbourne.
Melbourne, yeah.
That's why they do it. Also, as a point of interest, like the night that I came to Little Lagos,
Yeah.
just before that I was attending the Sydney Fringe Festival.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, did you hear about that one?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so there's
There's activations all over the city.
all over the
venues,
city,
yeah.
especially around Enmore and everything. So I'd actually gone and seen a play over there before that.
Nice.
Yeah, interesting. So what bank were you with?
Westpac.
Westpac.
Yeah.
Okay, and you worked with Westpac up to,
I've only worked there. They're a great employer.
Yeah.
I must say. Yeah, I've only worked there.
and you're still working with?
I'm actually going back tomorrow.
Are you?
Yeah.
So what, you took some time off?
Yeah, I took some time off. Yeah,
Okay.
just like I think because of Brisbane, there's a lot of work, so I took some time off. Yeah.
Okay. So now we get to the story about Little Lagos.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So put me in your place. You've come to Australia in 2016. You're
Yeah.
away from family. You don't have access to Nigerian food.
Yeah.
What happens?
I think the first thing was when I arrived, there was someone doing Nigerian food in Bankstown.
Yep.
And I used to go and I met the owner. It was an uncle. He was very nice. And we started talking. I asked him, he's like, yeah, I want to do it, but it's not a permanent thing.
Yeah.
I think he was more concerned about enough clientele, enough customers. But the big thing for me was, it's not just about Little Lagos or the restaurant. there was just no black-owned spaces in Sydney, like none. So, like you said earlier, you have to go to the pub. I don't drink alcohol. So, yes, I can go to a pub and I can have a Sprite, I guess. But I don't like the music in a pub. There's a lot of people in a pub who are drinking, having a good time, which is great for them. But I'm not so comfortable in a pub because I don't think I'm having the best time of my life.
Yeah.
And everywhere else I've been, there's places where you just go in and you meet your peoples, Nigerian people, other African people.
Yep.
You're eating, you're drinking. So I think it was more of a desire for that than actually having a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, if you live in Sydney and you're like, I want to experience, I'm sick of eating Pakistani food or Indian food or Thai food. Hey, I want to try Nigerian food. I want to hang out with Nigerian people.
Yeah.
I want to hear Nigerian music. Where are you going to go? In a whole city of 5 million? Nowhere. Yeah. And for me, it was mind-blowing because Sydney is a very important city.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk London, New York, Tokyo, you have to mention Sydney.
Sydney's on the map.
And I was just blown away by that. So not having any black spaces was something for me that was alarming. Because I was like, so where do we go as black people? Or if we want to do an event, we have to go to a pub and explain. And maybe they don't understand the concept. Maybe they're like, yeah, no, we don't think this is fit for our brand, which is perfectly normal. So it was out of that. Obviously, you can't have a venue without food. You know, food it's important because people want to eat, people want to have that experience. And also, if you want to get the attention of non-Nigerians, food is probably your best. It's the best carrot that you can dangle.
I mentioned this in like a couple of podcasts ago that food is basically the language that helps you communicate between cultures, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's the connector. It's the one medium that everyone can
relate to,
subscribe to, even if they have completely different opinions about everything else in the world.
Yeah.
They would have like, you know, Pakistani food and everyone will be like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you know what I mean? So food was a main part of the reason that I wanted to have that space as well. And that was it. So I think it was more of that, just saying we definitely need a black space.
Nice.
If you want to do a birthday party, you know, and you're a black person and you want to play Afrobeat music or hip hop or drill or whatever.
You don't have that space.
No, you have to go rent a hall, pay a fortune. You know, maybe they won't let you bring your own food. Maybe they will, you know, they'll keep all these restrictions on you, and you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna do it at home.
Yeah.
Then you have to clean up after everyone's gone. Yeah. So it was more out of a desire for us having a black space in Sydney, at least one.
No, I really admire that. Like, it's more of like a cultural revolution, you could say.
Yeah.
Like making your own space.
Yeah.
In a place where you don't identify a space.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was for me.
Yeah. So I'm getting that identity and your background plays a huge role in the person that you are.
Yeah. I'm from Lagos, you know. We like to say people from Lagos, we're the real celebrities, you know, we're the real stars.
Yeah, right.
Because we're very industrious, we're very adventurous. We like to do stuff. We like to shake the world. We like to make an impact. And when you visit the city, you can clearly see why. You know, you mentioned Nollywood, the music that comes out of it, the fashion, the art. You'll be surprised by what's coming out of Lagos at the moment. And I was saying to my sister the other day, if you look at any successful program in the States or in the UK, just read the credits and read the names of the people who put it together.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you see black people and you think, oh, they're just black people. I'm like, half of them are Nigerians.
Really?
When you start reading the names, you know. And when you start meeting people, you start hearing the names. Adetunde, Adeola. You know, they might not speak Yoruba because they were born and raised in the States.
Yeah.
But
that's Nigerian heritage.
100%. And that's their parents as well. That's the drive from their parents. That's the hustle spirit that we have.
Interesting.
So it was definitely born out of that to make sure that in Sydney, there has to be a little Lagos. There has to be a place where
there has to be like because, to be honest, when I heard the name Lagos, I knew that Lagos was a city. I just didn't know where it was.
Yes.
Like, right? But for me, somebody who had absolutely no knowledge of Africa or how the countries are divided up in Africa or Nigeria itself, but I still knew the term Lagos.
Yeah.
I knew that that's a city. So it's major.
Yeah, you would have heard it before somewhere and it would ring a bell like, Lagos. Yeah, that's what people do. They see little Lagos. The first thing they do is Google. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, yes, that makes sense.
That makes
Nigeria,
sense. Yeah. And like for people who don't really realize the importance of Nigeria to the African continent, Nigeria is the largest population in the African continent. Nigeria is the most rapidly progressing economy in that region. Nigeria has, and a lot of that economic growth is coming from Lagos itself, because that is where everything is concentrated. That's the hub.
Yeah.
Interesting. And again, that's an overlap that I find with Karachi, because Karachi is kind of like the business hub of Pakistan, right? And with that, the culture that you said, that Lagos has this energy. There's this air of hustle. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody's
driven.
Everybody's driven. Everybody's making money, getting things done, hustling. So that kind of grind is also something that is synonymous with Karachi.
Nice.
Again, it's something that, and then the hip hop that comes out of that city, a city that is as industrious and as grinding as that. The kind of hip hop I believe is now coming out of, or the music that's coming out of Lagos, and the kind of music that's coming out of Karachi. There's an overlap there as well.
There's a parallel.
Because all of those artists that you have up on Little Lagos, right? What are they talking about? They're talking about a hard life, in
the
struggle in a tough city. They're talking about a country that has 1,000 different problems, 1,000 different divisions, how people are divided. And then they use all of that as fuel for their songs.
That's right.
Which is exactly what hip hop artists in Pakistan are doing now. Again, an overlap over there.
Wow,
Nice. Okay, so coming back to the story of Little Lagos then. Now, I get it. There's this emotional side of the story that, you wanted a place for yourself. You wanted a black space. You wanted a space where, you could celebrate your culture and ethnicity. But now when you try to turn it into a reality, there's the business side of it, the nuts and bolts. So another thing that I wanted to get out of this conversation was that if anybody is thinking about the idea of starting an ethnic restaurant or an ethnic space for themselves, or a space or a venue, right? So how does one go about it? Like what are some of the things that you had to find out the hard way that you would give, that you would tell people that you could do this or that?
Where do I start from? Finance is a big one. Finance is a big one. Like you have to put in your own money, unless maybe for people like me and you, it might be different because we're immigrants and we just got here, so we don't have property or we
don't have collateral,
or a lot of money in the bank. So whatever money you have is the money you brought with you. So finance is massive. The banks here are very interesting. Like, I remember when I went to ask for a loan to start a business, I had a business plan. I was like, this is the best idea. I was like, I thought the banks would be like jumping over themselves to be like, whoa, a black-owned venue, the first of its kind. And they could see the vision. Like, imagine if we had one in every city. I thought the banks would be like on my case, right?
Right.
None of them were interested. They were just like, what? No. I was like, do you not understand that, this is going to be such a niche, but then a massive market. There's nothing like this in the entire country. So can you not see that? No one of them is interested. And I was like, what the, I remember one bank, I can't name them. They were like, do you want money for a vacation? I was like, what? They're like, yeah, we can give you a loan for you to go on vacation and then you can pay that back. I thought they were teasing, but I was like, really? They're like, yeah. So like, you'd rather give me a loan to go to Bali or, Thailand and blow it away than to give me a loan to start a business that would employ people. It was bizarre. But look, they have their own metrics, so you can't really argue with that. But finance is the biggest one. It's expensive to start a business here. The most expensive I've lived in 5 cities. Australia is crazy. So rent's very expensive. With the rent comes bond that you have to pay. With your rent comes outgoings, your bills, your water rates, council rates, this rate, like all of that. And then there's no protection for commercial tenants in this country. That's one thing I've noticed. The commercial landlord has your literally neck and they squeeze it whenever they want. There's no protection. If you want to go to court, good luck. You'll be there for like 3 years. So massive imbalance between you as a tenant renting and as a commercial landlord. If you want to buy, it's a whole different story because I think you need 30% deposit to buy a commercial place. So those are the big things. Staffing is also a major, major problem.
Is it?
Yeah. Especially when you need specialized skills. Like you want a Nigerian making Nigerian food. That's common sense. You want it to be authentic and original. So that's hard because there's not a lot of Nigerian chefs, Nigerian cooks around. If you want to bring them in, you can, but it would take you literally 2 years. Like the bureaucracy is crazy. So, and I think those would be the hardest part. I think finance is the most difficult part. Real estate is also very difficult because you have to convince the landlord to rent you their property. And you're ethnic, if the landlord is not ethnic, which they 9 out of 10 they're not, they're just like, no. Some of them said things to me like, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to pay your rent. Like, what? And some of them were like, is your food smelly? Is it going to smell up the entire building?
Somebody asked you
yes.
that? They asked you
yeah,
that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You have to sit there and smile because you're the one that wants to rent the property. They don't care.
Wow.
And one guy said, I can't hire Muslims. This was a guy in Newtown. And I was like, he didn't know I was Muslim anyway. So he was just going on a rant and he said, you can't hire anyone that wears a scarf. So I said, with all due respect, they're working for me. What does that have to do? He's like, yeah, but if people are walking on the street and they see anyone wearing a scarf in this business, they will never come. They will never come. You have to go to Blacktown for that. He said that to me. And I was like, what if it's my sister working there? You know, because I'm Muslim and my sister, maybe she's wearing a scarf. And then he was like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
It's like, it's, if you want to, it's your problem. It's your problem. I was like, yeah, you're an ass, whatever.
Yeah.
So you will go through everything. And then if they do rent you the place as well, a lot of times there's just so many hidden costs popping up out of nowhere. Oh, the fan, it doesn't really work that well. You have to fix it because you're the tenant. Yeah. And if you check it before, you can't check everything. You can't go down to the seawall and check if the pipes are not blocked. You only find out when you turn on the the tap.
Yeah.
And the place, gets flooded and you're like, oh, what happened? Oh, sorry, it's you. You have to fix it now.
Yeah.
So labor is expensive, as you know.
Of course.
Call out fee. If you call a plumber just to come, it's $200.
Yeah, everything's expensive as.
Look at it. I don't want people to sound like, oh my God, I'm not doing that. You absolutely can't do it. It's just you have to be prepared with a lot of money.
You have to manage your expectations as well.
Yes. I would say start small, which is what we kind of did in Newtown. Get a smaller place and then keep growing in the space before taking on a big place. So
before you approached the banks and everything, you kind of beta tested this idea with the food installation, like a pop-up, I think. Yes,
100%. So
I think that can be like a proof of concept,
100%. Right? That is a proof of concept. That is the first pop-up we did was 2018 at Africulture's Festival. We sold out in 45 minutes.
Wow.
Like sold out. And we had people on the line.
Yeah.
And we had to go and tell them that we're out of food. And they were like, what? But luckily we had a commercial kitchen not too far away. Yeah. So we split up and half of us ran back to the commercial kitchen and started prepping again. Every single pop-up I've done before I even went to the bank has been sold out. And we bring a lot of food. Yeah. And this is not just Nigerians. This was a mixture of everyone because the Nigerians were actually the last people to catch up on it. Because most of them will cook at home anyway. Their family. Yeah. So eating out was not a big priority. So we had that. We had a lot of pop-ups. We had markets. We had festivals. I intentionally did festivals that are not African festivals, so someone can't say, oh, well, you're selling it to African people, so obviously it's going to sell out.
We want to make it available to everyone.
Absolutely. We did One Day Festival, which is a massive Australian festival that's been around for years, and it's literally no Africans there, sold out. So that was a proof of concept, and that was what we took to the banks. And we also had media already, because the media were very interested from day one. Because it was very novel. Whoa, Nigerian food in Sydney. Yes, this is something to write about. But that wasn't really good enough for banks to say, oh, yes, they're going to back this. And I think for them, it was just like Nigerian food. Nah, it wasn't something that would get them excited because they didn't think it would be something that would be around for a while. Yeah.
And on top of that, as soon as you started the restaurant, you got hit by COVID.
Yeah, literally.
Literally
the same month we signed the lease. Yeah.
Like after everything, going to the banks, going to the landlord, getting everything done, setting up a business, after jumping all of that hoop, what could possibly go wrong?
I swear to you, it's the biggest test.
What could possibly go wrong?
I feel like that was the day I knew I was resilient. I was like, all right, I don't think anything can shake me.
Yeah.
Because I was about to. Yeah, you're right. It was not pleasant.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's your livelihood, right? You invested this huge amount of money.
Every dime I had on my life. I think the initial money that went into was like $250K.
Yeah.
And that's just capital gone. It's not like I can go and get it back. Everyone has been paid, right? So the money's gone. The equipment has been bought. The rent's been paid. Bond has been paid. Everything has been ordered. So you can't say, oh, I don't want it anymore. Sorry. No, they have your money already.
Yep.
So it was like, it was pretty scary. I think COVID, for anyone, but for us and
for small business owners,
small business
for
was
eateries.
just starting.
Yeah, it was really difficult, and it's miraculous that you guys were able to come through the
Yeah.
other end, with a running business.
Yeah.
Considering how many people actually went out of business
100%.
during that time.
100%.
No.
We had friends that went out of business, like
Yeah.
not one, not two, not three.
Yeah.
You know, and it's it's hard.
It's hard.
When you talk to them. They're happy for us that we're still
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
but some of them have been in the industry like years and years before us.
Interesting. Yeah. So, run me through that. So once, okay, you are in that situation, the pandemic's hit, lockdowns and everything, right? Restaurant people are
Yeah.
not going to restaurants anymore. Restaurants are shut down. How, once the initial shock went away,
Yeah.
what was your mode of action?
Just take away. Did take away food. We did crazy things. We did because the original idea was to do a launch party in the venue.
Yes.
So we did a live DJ stream.
Online.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
DJ Classic. So he set up in the venue.
Yeah.
Everything was closed, of course.
Yeah.
And he wore like a chef apron.
Yeah.
I remember. And he did a live DJ stream. And we told everyone to log in.
Yeah.
And everyone logged in at home. And it was amazing. And I think once people saw that, they were like, nah, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
Like,
They're bringing a vibe. It's not just the food, it's a vibe.
It was. And then we told people, order your food so that your food is getting to you.
Yeah.
And I think it was a program called Twitch. So I think they could message the DJ while he was playing.
And
so
play requests.
I think so, yeah. So I think
right.
people would be like, oh, my jollof is here, DJ, play this song, whatever. And then he was also communicating. And I think that's when people immediately realized now, like, these guys are going to do something cool.
Interesting.
So that was that. We did crazy things. We did deliveries. We did this thing where we said, wherever you are in Greater Sydney, we will deliver to you.
Right.
Wherever you are. And we're in Newtown. So just try to wrap your head around this. And people ordered from Manly, Penrith.
Wow.
Yeah.
Opposite ends.
Yeah. And we had to do that delivery.
Wow.
And we did every single delivery. I remember the last one we did was Penrith. I remember that. It was a friend of mine, actually, Ebube.
Yeah.
And we took the delivery to her. I think the food got there like midnight. Like she
Yeah.
came out in a nightgown. She was like, and she's like, you know what? Thank you. I'm still going to eat it.
Yeah.
Even though it's like midnight. Yeah. So those are the kind of things that we did that just let people know we're not just going to roll over and die. We're going to fight this with everything. And the community was crazy supportive.
Yeah.
So supportive.
I guess
everyone.
those kind of times actually show you, one, the resilience that you showed.
Yeah.
And it also kind of, I think what you were trying to do with Little Lagos, it kind of cemented that spirit, didn't it?
Yeah.
That in the worst of times,
Yeah.
there's a pandemic, everybody's depressed, people are losing jobs, they have nothing to do.
Yeah.
And here are these guys, they put on a DJ for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of cemented the spirit that you were trying to bring
Yeah.
to the space.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think people felt that. And people were more excited about the fact that we're still open. So I think they wanted to keep us open. So I think a lot of people that were ordering food were probably just doing it just to make sure we're still trading.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where the community support comes in, because
Yeah.
there was a lot of community support.
There has to be.
There was a lot.
There has to be. And especially around the Newtown area, it was like that place was one of the worst hit in terms of like the number of cases, right?
Yeah.
The inner west and like the inner suburbs.
Yes.
The lockdowns were pretty strict
Yeah.
around that area
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it was.
Good on you guys. So once the restrictions went away, like when the pandemic hit, I doubt that you guys would have had enough time to actually calibrate the restaurant that, okay, what is our operating capacity? And like, you wouldn't have been able to calibrate the systems.
No, everything was done on the go. I mean, to be honest with you, I think even till now,
Yeah.
we're just getting our heads around how do you actually run a venue properly, because COVID was almost 3 years, People keep thinking, oh, COVID was the whole of 2020, the whole of 2021, and more than half of 2022.
Yes.
And so we've forgotten about it now. It's like it never happened. But all the effects of that is still around now.
They are.
It's still, because imagine 2 whole years of you trading at 20% capacity.
Yeah.
And the bills are piling up. And now it's like, okay, COVID is over. Pay your bills. Like, how am I going to pay my bills?
I haven't had any business.
I got 2 years worth of debt. The 8 years, like, pay. Or like, what? It's like, were you guys around 2 years ago or no?
Yeah.
So people not people, but a lot of things were expected to snap back it's normal, but it's not, because people lost their jobs, people lost their businesses.
Yeah.
You think someone who's lost their job is trying to go out and have fun? No.
Yeah,
They're trying to find
and
another
even
job.
now, even now with I think the way the inflation has gone, people's spending trends have gone down.
Of course.
Like people are not eating out as much.
Yeah, they're not. Rent is crazy.
It is in
I mean,
Sydney.
like, I'm just like, where are we? I'm seeing some of my I know people that had to move out.
Yep.
And they have jobs. They have good jobs, and it's like, I can't afford rent.
Yep.
Where do we get to that point where you can't afford rent? Because they've just gone crazy. My rent went up as well where I live. And I was just like, I'm taking you to the tribunal because I've been here 5 years. So they backed down. But there were people that didn't have that luxury of that. So you're right. Cost of living crisis, everything is expensive. And you still expect people to be out there eating and drinking. Not really.
Mate, personally, my own rent, it went up 20% in one go.
Yeah. I had some that went up 60%.
Wow.
And it was like, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Because there's somebody else waiting. Yeah. Brutal. So absolutely, you're right. It's not over yet. So we finished COVID. We're like, COVID is over. And then boom, it's like
inflation,
cost of living crisis. So I don't know what's going to be next.
But at least you know that whatever it is, you have a good track record of coming out the other end.
Damn, I'm tired. People always say like, you're so strong. I'm like, I don't want to be strong.
Yeah.
I want to be soft. I just want to chill. Yeah, you're right. It builds you.
Yeah.
And that's the real world.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right? We're the lucky ones. We're in a great country, safe.
Yep.
There's people, back home who are doing it really, really tough. I have family back home, and they're like asking for $10 just so they can survive.
Yep.
So you can't take anything here for granted. We're still able to get back and say, inflation, all right, let's go, let's work hard, let's do this, let's do that. So absolutely, yes. The resilience is there, and you have to pivot. Like, you have to think, okay, what else can we do now? We have to do all the things. We need all the sources of revenue. We do merchandise. This is our merchandise. We sell this. We do ready-made meals now. So we're selling that. That's selling very well. So it also helps you to think and to know, okay, I can't just rely on dine-in restaurant. I have to think of other ways to generate revenue.
I think another thing that you could maybe explore is maybe provide a platform for like young ethnic comics, like a stand-up night or an open mic night.
We're doing that in Brisbane.
Are you?
Yes, doing a comedy night with Anissa.
Yeah,
she's amazing. Definitely things like that.
Because like you're Muslim, I'm Muslim, right? So I also find that within the it's not that we Muslims can't take a joke. Yeah, we can. Yeah, right. It's just that it has to come from an informed point of view. Yeah. Right. And a lot of times I believe that within the comics and everything, there's still capacity within the Australian market for ethnic comics to come up. There's that side of the society that is underrepresented. Yeah,
there's a few that have. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because there's some guys that, you're right, on Instagram that I see. Yeah. And their jokes are from the community kind of thing. I think one of them is Lebanese. Yeah. And honestly, like, he would make these jokes about growing up as a Lebanese or as a Lebanese Muslim in a Lebanese family hold. And I would be on the floor laughing because I can relate to all of those jokes, even though I'm not Lebanese, but in the context of religion, in the context of ethnicity, in the context of family values, like, he would make these jokes and I'll be like, oh my God, that's hilarious. So comedy is definitely one. I think we're doing that one in Brisbane from November. But even in Sydney, I think comedy nights would be cool. It's also because it's more relaxed. You know what I mean? Like, people can come and have a good laugh.
Yeah, just come and have a drink, and just enjoy the comedy. Plus, it also, if you do like open mic nights, that gives a chance for like younger artists to come
test their material.
Test their material.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody has a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me more about the business side in Brisbane. Like, okay, once you got settled in Newtown in Sydney, when did you actually decide that, okay, we need to take this somewhere else?
Earlier this year. We've been thinking about it. Brisbane is growing. It's growing. As you know, it's going to host the Olympics in less than 8 years. Yeah. And that's every country in the world coming down to Brisbane, right? So the infrastructure is there. The population is there as well. It's fast growing. I personally had close to 10 people that I knew that moved to Brisbane from Sydney. Yep. So I believe the cost of living there also is not as bad as Sydney and Melbourne. Yep. So we thought, okay, that might be good. That might be a good place to start. It's a long-term investment for us for Brisbane. We think that it will take a few years for it to pick up, but it's also better to get in there.
And is that also called Little Lagos?
Yeah, it's called Lekki by Little Lagos. So Lekki is a suburb in Lagos. Okay. So each new one will be a suburb by named after Lagos.
Love it. Love that. Love the idea.
Yeah. So that's Brisbane, and I think Melbourne is where we're really thinking about Melbourne now.
And Kemi is your head chef?
Yeah, so Kemi's a head chef, and she's a co-owner in the Brisbane one.
In the Brisbane.
Yes, okay, so that's also like equity and growing the community and having more business owners as opposed to one guy employing 500 people.
Yeah.
You could have 100 people employing 5,000 people. So so she's a co-owner there. And then she's able to also kind of run that.
Yep.
And then, if we go to Melbourne, we'll probably get another co-owner and things like that.
Yeah, right. So Kemi's been with you since the start of the journey, has she?
Not from the very start. I think she jumped on the train halfway through.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she was very determined. She knew what she wanted. She was like, I want to have my own venue someday. I was like, done.
Yeah.
Give me 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So she pretty much ran the Sydney one to get herself ready.
Sure.
She was like the operations manager, de facto operations manager, to get an idea of how things work, what happens behind the house, front of house. Yeah. And then when she felt like, we're ready. Let's do it.
I'm really hoping to get Kemi on here as well. Kemi, if you're listening, you're coming up on the seat next. So, what's next for Little Lagos or for yourself in general? Where are you right now personally? Where do you find yourself?
I think I'm back to where I was before COVID, which is not great because the challenges haven't really decreased. They're actually more now because now there's 2 venues. There's the cost of living crisis that we talked about. There's a little bit of uncertainty in the economy. So it's not really time to relax and say, everything is good. It's actually time to get on the front foot and think, what happens if there's a recession? God forbid. What happens if the economy dips even lower? What happens if things get worse? We all know hospitality is the first to get affected, frontline. So I think, unfortunately, I'm kind of back in that stress mode of 2020 because I'm not fighting COVID now. I'm just fighting,
to get enough people in the door.
Yeah, and to sustain the brand and to make sure, regardless of what happens, we're ready, we're prepared so that we can take it. So that's where I am right now. Yeah. The future is to franchise. So that's where, in terms of the business now, so we're now preparing the franchise model for it because there needs to be one in every state and territory in Australia. That's the dream. By 2030, there has to be one in every single state and territory so that you're here, you got work in Northern Territory. Yeah, you don't have to worry. It's like, I can go there. Just the way there's an Indian restaurant in every state and territory in this country.
You want a Nigerian. You want one suburb.
Absolutely.
In every major city. I love that idea. The suburb names, I absolutely love that idea.
So that's the dream. That's the goal. So with the franchising, we're talking to investors more seriously because I think now we've kind of proven that this can work. We just need more capital. We need more people to people that have the money and that want to invest. Like, okay, you're not close, you survived COVID. Okay, fine. You know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yes. You must have done something right.
Yeah. I think that's the proof of concept you spoke about earlier. Yeah. I feel like now there's more confidence in people when we talk to them. Say, okay. So that's where I am now personally. Just kind of working out, making sure there's multiple revenue streams so that if one gets affected, the other one keeps going. The ready-to-eat meals, that's going well. So we're doing the meat pies now. That's in stores. Okay. So we need to expand that to make it a bit more national. Because at this time, it's only 2 states that we cover. We want to expand it to all the states.
What's the ready-to-eat meals concept?
So it's Nigerian meat pie.
Yeah.
It's one of the most popular items in the store. Sure. Because it's got literally no chili at all, and the kids love it because the pastry is very nice. Yeah. So we're already selling that in the box now, where you just pop it in the oven, heat it for 30 minutes, and it's ready to go. Okay. People love it because when they're at parties or they have a little gathering, they just buy a few of it and they just heat it up and it's ready. They don't have to bake it or anything like that.
So it's under the brand of Little Lagos?
Yes, it is. And we started it about a year ago. We're testing the market, and now we can see the demand. Every week, the stores who carry it, they want more. Yeah. But it's still a long way from obviously national and being able to have it in every store. Yeah. And eventually we want to do the other dishes as well that are quite popular. A lot of the dishes are very popular, and not everyone wants to come to Newtown every time they have a craving.
Because it's difficult.
It's
Getting into Newtown is difficult.
If you live here in Bella Vista, for example, and you have to go to Newtown, you're gonna think about it like
on a Saturday night.
Yeah, and then you struggle with parking when you get to the city, and then you have to come back home. So we're trying to make it more accessible for people.
Yeah, maybe make a little western suburb
Yeah,
Lagos.
we actually wanted to in Para.
Yeah. Why not?
I think the whole, that Church Street in Para,
That's
it just took too long. We went there like 2 years and they were still building. I was like, when are they gonna finish building?
Oh, you mean the
main strip? Yeah,
the rails system.
Yeah, I don't know if it's done now.
I don't know for sure either. I don't know for sure either.
It's been going on forever.
I haven't been there for a while.
Yeah, because I used to live in Para. Wow. And
Okay.
Yeah. So we did think about Parramatta actually. Yeah. I thought Parramatta would be cool, but
because I can tell you, because I tried the food, right?
Yeah.
Pakistani and Indian people would love Nigerian food.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Because I within the taste, within the spices, the flavors, there's a huge overlap with India and Pakistan.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so you'd have a lot of customers from that side as well. I'll also be posting a link for Little Lagos and the Google Maps link in the description for this as well. I'll also be posting a link somewhere up here on the screen. If anybody wants to go and try out Little Lagos, I mean, I absolutely loved the vibe of it and the food, and just do give it a try. Right. So, are you going to be heading back up to Brisbane now?
Yes, I have to go back.
Are you living in Brisbane now?
I live in both. Yeah. I live in Sydney and Brisbane, but there's a lot of exciting things happening in Brisbane. A lot. We've got a singles night, which is another huge. When I talked about black spaces, a lot of people from the black community find it hard to date. You have to be on an app. You don't know what you're swiping on, who you're talking to.
Yeah.
People lie about their height. I hear stories about those apps and I'm just laughing.
Yeah.
Like, why would you lie about your height? Because when someone sees you, they can clearly see you're not 6'2". It's like, I hope when they see me, they change their mind because they already think I'm awesome. But that's funny stories about that. And then I was like, we need a space where, black people can just mingle, network, talk to each other.
Give each other business advice, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing that, and then we're doing monthly live music in Brisbane as well, and then we're doing a festival. So Brisbane is starting to get busy with a lot of events and activities. So it does require me to be there quite often, and I think we're very excited about that because now it's summer, and a lot of people are outside. There's a lot of events and activities.
So in Brisbane, are you guys again based somewhere near the city centre?
Yes. Yeah, we're in the West End.
Okay.
It's literally 10-minute walk from CBD.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like Newtown in terms of the demographics. There's a lot of food, shops, and small businesses around that area.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you again so much for coming down. This was a conversation. This was one of the conversations that I really, really was looking forward to.
Thank you.
And it completely lived up to the hype.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you so much.
Beyond this, if you're ever down in Sydney again, I would love to have a sit down with you and discuss history someday.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the time for it now because of everything happening in the world. And I think if you don't have a good knowledge of history, you're not going to be able to make an informed decision because you're talking about the now.
Yep.
And you have to go back sometimes 100 years to be like, that's where it started. That's why what's happening today has happened, Exactly. And for people like us that come from colonized countries, history is extremely important, not to make the same mistakes before and to understand the state of affairs in the country. It's I say to, when I meet people that don't speak their language, they don't speak Yoruba, I'm always like, why? And a lot of them is like, my parents didn't want me to speak my language. They wanted me to speak English because they wanted me to fit in society. They wanted me to be able to get a job. Yeah. So they even gave me English names. Like my name is Anthony or Evelyn or Michael. Yeah. It's like, it's sad. Exactly. Do you get what I mean? Because it's like,
because that is exactly what colonization does.
Yeah, that's it.
It wipes away your heritage.
It takes away every aspect of you. The English people forbade us from speaking our language, and then you're self-colonizing yourself, because you think it's gonna give you an edge in life. But that's all historical facts. And I was having a chat with one of my friends who had a kid, and I was like, can you please give that kid a Nigerian name, if you're Yoruba or Igbo, so that he has an identity? And of course he can. I speak English. It's not my first language, but I also speak my language, and my kids will speak their language, and they'll know where they're from and their story and their sense of self. So I think history is very important, and for a lot of people, we have very short-term memory as well. You know, we only remember what happened the last 5 years. Not knowing what's happened before.
And like you said, with countries that have had a past of colonization, that have been colonized, now in this day and age where thanks to the internet and social media, a lot of these narratives.
Yeah.
Because all we've known about history is the narrative of the colonizer.
Of course. The books that we read were written by them. Yeah.
So now because of the internet, these alternate narratives of history are coming up. And that is good because that gives a different perspective of history and the events from the indigenous people's point of view, right?
Yeah.
And it is important for us to now then communicate that story to the Western civilizations.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who were the colonizers.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I'm sure if you sit down with any British person, right, and you bring up the idea of colonization, they would get awkward.
Yeah.
They don't know how to react to it.
Yeah.
Because it's something that is part of history. Everybody knows about it. They're not necessarily proud of it, but they don't know how to have that conversation. And in that case, I think the responsibility falls on people like us that we need to make these conversations easy.
Yeah.
We need to facilitate these conversations.
Yeah.
And unless we can have an honest and open conversation about what was done, what repercussions it had, the consequences it had, we'll never be able to create a sense of empathy between any civilization.
Yeah. And you're not going to heal properly because you can't just be in denial and say, well, I didn't colonize anyone. So, you know, it's not my fault. It's like, but the benefits of colonization, you're directly profiting off it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're definitely in a better position because you came from a background or a country where they've gone and they've looted everything from another country and enriched themselves, built a prosperous society for themselves, which you're able to take advantage of now. And those other people have to start from scratch, from 60 years of being looted and having everything taken from them.
Absolutely.
But,
and plus, on top of that, people, the colonies that you left, you gave them independence, but you also left them with a sense of confused identity.
Yeah. People
like with Nigeria, for example.
Yeah.
One of the oldest civilizations in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, in the world. If anybody has any interest in this, go and search up indigenous Nigerian metalwork. This was metalwork and craftsmanship that was done in the 1100s, the 1000 AD. Yeah. And the detail in the craftsmanship of all that stuff, it's I mean, even to this day, you cannot find the 100%, same kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So these are histories, these are cultures that were that were cosmetically wiped out.
Yeah.
That, you know, this is a part of your past that you're not supposed to know. Yeah. Like you treat your history as if it's something to be ashamed of.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I think there was a story the other day about some of the masks that were taken from the Benin Empire. So the Benin Empire is one of the largest empires, and we're direct descendants of the Benin Empire. That's how big it was. Yeah. And they had this mask they used to make, like you said, the design. Even now, I look at it and I'm like, how did they even get this? And the details in the design as well.
Absolutely.
So and I think they were asking for some of them to be returned because they were stolen and they're in the British Museum somewhere in London.
And we talk about economies and stuff. Back then, Africa was I'm not sure if India was the biggest economy or Africa, but African countries were up there. They were one of the largest
in terms
economies.
of trade.
In terms of trade, the Benin Empire, like you said, it's one of the most profitable empires in history.
The kings were rich. Yeah, that's true. That's a whole different conversation.
No, but we'll definitely. I would definitely earmark this. I want to have this conversation again.
Yeah.
But anyways, I always tend to end the conversation with the nugget of truth.
Okay.
So Ade, the mic is yours. One nugget of truth that life has taught you with all of your experiences in Lagos, outside of Lagos, creating little Lagos. Yeah. One nugget of truth that life has taught you that you can pass on to people.
There's goodness in everyone. That's my nugget of truth. Every single person has goodness in them.
Yeah.
Whether they decide to show it to you or to other people is different. But deep down in the fabric of every human being, there is goodness.
There is goodness.
Yes.
And we need to promote that more and try to connect with
them. Yes. I think I seek the goodness in people first. If I can't find it, not because it's not there, but I can't find it, it's not accessible to me, then I'm happy to say, okay, fair. But I think everyone's kind deep down in them. Everyone has some goodness in them. And I think we should try to seek that out rather than, judging or seeing the worst in people. I don't see the worst in people. I always try to look for the absolute best in them because that's good for both of us. as opposed to going in with a negative mindset already. So yeah, that's my nugget of truth.
A beautiful, beautiful point to end the podcast on, I believe. Ade, once again, thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'd love to have you over again. And for all of you who enjoyed this podcast, please give us a follow on all these social media platforms. We have all of our short form content, all of the highlight reels from this conversation as well will be coming up on those platforms. So give us a follow. Also, take a second out of your time to hit that subscribe button. Help us grow our viewership. Until that time, this has been In the Gap. I've been Hussain, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.